Welcome to She Is His, a podcast from the Pretty and Wise Collective. Here, we are all about digging into God's Word and sharing real and honest, sometimes ridiculous, stories of faith and growing together in wisdom, grace, and courage. Think of this as your invitation to go grab a cup of coffee, pull up a chair, and join in on the conversation. Together we'll laugh, we're going to learn, and we're going to lean into God's truth so that we can boldly walk as His daughters. New episodes are going to be dropping every other Friday, so don't forget to follow us on social media, or feel free to visit www.prettyandwise.com to stay connected. All right, ladies, let's dive in, let's grow in wisdom, and let's celebrate the beauty of sisterhood in Christ.
Hey, and welcome back to the She Is His podcast. I'm your host, Lyndsay Terry, and I'm here with two of my favorites that you already know and love. This is Lori Gregory and Angie Reese, both with the Pretty and Wise Collective. Today, we're talking about something I'm actually really excited about, really passionate about, and that is raising kids in a digital world. And it's a hot topic. Well, such a hot topic. And Lori brought The Anxious Generation, which, if you're a mom, you have heard of this book. Everyone I know has recommended this book to me, and we'll touch on that too today. But I'm excited about this. I think it's such an important topic because it absolutely is affecting our children in one, just being kids, and two, growing up. There's just this epidemic of anxiety and depression, and I am convinced it's directly linked to the amount of media we are consuming. I think even with adults. So anyway, it's a heavy topic.
It was a little bit heavy.
But so important, and I think a lot of you, this is important to you too. So just to kind of, kids, I grew up at the beginning of the information age. I was an 80s baby, 90s kid, so I kind of came out of the analog world into the digital world. So,
Yeah.
And I think you guys
We were just a little bit
for you, yeah. But still you get it. You were the same. You started out in, regular childhood.
Yeah.
Riding your bike till the streetlights came on. And then at some point, You've Got Mail came along, or the interwebs. I remember when we got the computer in our house, and how cool that was. And but for my kids, I remember a couple years ago I got a new iPhone, back when they went from the home button to just the screen. Mm-hmm. And I got it one night. Josh and I were on a date night, and we went and picked me out a new phone. Got back, the kids went to bed, whatever. They didn't even see it. Judah wakes me up in the morning and is like, "Can I play on your new phone?" He just knew that I had one, I guess. And I was like, "Well, buddy, I'm still learning it's different than my last one. There's not a button. I'm still learning. So I'll have to figure it out and then teach you." He was like, 8 at the time or something. He goes, "You mean like this?" I was like, "Yeah. Okay." So they are different. They're so different. The world that they grew up in is so different from how we grew up. And so I think sometimes that can leave us a little ignorant to, honestly, the dangers of screens and digital access to anything. So the first thing I think before we get into our opinions and thoughts on it, we need to go to the Word and let Scripture guide us into what's true and good and lovely, right? So a few verses that came to my mind was Proverbs 4:23, talking about above all else, guard your heart, for it is the wellspring of life. For from it, everything else flows, right? Mm-hmm. And Psalm 103 or 101:3, I will not set my eyes before anything that is worthless. I'm feeling convicted right in this moment because we all scroll on stupid reels and tell me that's worthless. Worthless. It's worthless. And then Matthew 6:22, the eye is the lamp of the body, right? And for our kids, we are their gatekeepers. It's like we don't expect our kids to be emotionally regulated when they're 3, when they're toddlers. That's a skill you learn. It's not something you're born with. And so our kids are navigating from a scary early age. I mean, we're talking like 18 months old. We will stick a screen in front of our baby to keep them quiet at a restaurant. They're navigating the digital world without any without any ability to know what's good and right, what is going to help me or what is going to hurt me, what is going to feed me or harm me. And so we have to be their gatekeepers. And I think for a while, it's been easy to be like, oh, it's this particular streaming service, so it stayed. And more we're finding like, that is not true. There is no streaming service that exists that is foolproof, right? And so we can't be lazy about it. How has this impacted you in raising your kids with being their gatekeeper? What's been your journey on that?
Well, I know one of the biggest regrets I have is not being a very good gatekeeper with my oldest. I feel like some of the sin in her life happened because her waywardness happened because I was not a very good gatekeeper. I trusted too much in her ability to decipher what she should and shouldn't even watch it. And so, that kind of was a big wake-up call for me when I look back on that. And so I turn around and I feel like I kind of swung the pendulum the other way. And I'm like, there will be no cell phone. There will be no... No, I'm not that bad. But, I am a lot more careful and limiting in what I allow my 2 younger ones to have access to. They have specific things they're allowed to do, and if they don't do that, if they decide to go off the rails on it, then they're grounded, because that's untrusting me to follow the guidelines of the gatekeeper.
Yeah.
Because in a moment's time, they see or hear something, and you can never take it back.
Yeah.
And that's scary. I know Alora, she's my 4th grader right now. She is constantly asking for her own phone. And she'll be like, all I want to do is play games on it. All I want to do is text my friends on it. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. And I'm still like, no. Because even just texting your friends, they can send you things that you don't need to see. Even just playing games, you could download games that are inappropriate for you as a 4th grader. And so it's a constant battle. And she'll hear me and say, okay, Mom, but then she turns around and starts asking for it again because there's so much pressure from her generation. Oh, I have the access to all that. As a 5th grade teacher, at standardized testing time, we had to collect all the cell phones and the smartphones, even if they're in the backpack. And I have a basket that I fill up with, and they're at school, and they're not even doing anything with it at school. And here they are, having cell phones that are nicer than mine. And they're in 5th grade. So I think that as the gatekeeper, we just have to realize that sometimes the answer is no, and being a good gatekeeper, that has to be what it is. Gate has to be closed on times. Yeah, when we're talking about media and our kids. Yeah, for sure. And that's not even touching social media. Yes, because that is ridiculous.
Well, and I think even beyond content, which is a big enough problem, I think the constant connectivity is a problem.
Oh, yeah.
That I think, and for adults too, knowing what's going on in every part of the world at a moment's notice is not good for us. We weren't designed to live that way.
Yeah.
And when we put phones or devices in our kids' hands where they have constant connectivity with other people in the world outside of their community, I think breeds a lot of anxiety, opens the door for issues like you get a bully at school, and we've all dealt with that. But then you can't get away from that bully when you leave school because you got a phone in your pocket and they will harass you.
Uh-huh.
And so the constant connectivity, I think, is just as much of a problem as the content. And as parents, we need to guard that for our kids, for their own mental health. Yeah. What about you with all of this?
Yeah, it worries me just having girls, and something that he brings up in this book about the mental effects on self-image and all these things that affect girls sometimes more partially. And and I also worry about the needing it, the addictive part of it. Like even as a young, I think that's where I was surprised. Like I have a 7-year-old and a 2-year-old, and so I don't have older ones, but even as a young, she wanted to look at pictures on my phone, and so I'd give her my phone, and then it's like, oh well, now she wants it for an hour, and now she can't be happy in the morning unless she gets it first thing in the morning. You know what I mean? It just kind of builds, and and then it obviously steamrolls as they get older, and so I don't want her to have to need something, and be dependent on something and see her self-worth in something.
Yeah. Over enjoy even that. Free. Yeah. It's okay to be bored. It's so good to be bored. It stems our imaginations and sparks creativity.
My kids love hearing that from me.
You too.
All the time. They're like, I'm bored. I'm like, that's so good. I'm so glad. That's good. That means you've got all this creativity ready to come bursting out. So go figure it out. Go be creative. Go build something. Go play outside. And that was a big reason why my husband and I wanted to move to the country. Yeah. Because I wanted to be able to give my kids the opportunity for independence and creative play in something other than a screen, a video game, a social media, or whatever. Like, I go do something with your hands. It's good for your soul,
Go dig in the dirt.
Go dig in the dirt. So get those betas outside. But I think it's also everything they watch, even when it is harmless, everything contains a message. And we have to guard what those messages are, because those messages form their beliefs, habits, and identity. And we had listened to a podcast by Sally Clarkson recently. If you don't follow Sally Clarkson, you totally should. She's really great. But she had her son on, and they were talking about, before the ages of like until kids are like 3 or 4, everything is real to them.
Oh, yeah.
And so, or maybe this wasn't on that podcast. This might have been a different one. But anyway, doesn't matter. Still true. Everything is real to them. And so then you really have to guard, because that means they're getting messages and applying it that this is true. Mm-hmm. Even if it's Paw Patrol. Definitely not real. But the messages they're taking in as true. And so I think it's really important to guard not just content, which is important, but even if it seems innocuous, what is this teaching my kid about who they are and how they interact with the world?
No, when they're on the phone, they're not interacting with the world. Right? Yeah, they're interacting. I feel like it's a fake world that we interact with on the phone in a lot of ways. And so if they're on a device so much, they don't notice the world around them. They don't see people interacting with each other.
Or know how to do it themselves.
Or know how to do it themselves.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I know that's one of the things that we dealt with in the school system with the COVID generation, is the kids were so separated and not allowed at the young age. Like in kindergarten, they weren't allowed to interact with each other at school like normal. And so then we had issues later on when things sort of lessened and they were supposed to interact with each other. They didn't know how to interact with each other.
Yeah.
And the same, you're seeing the effects of that all over the place because of screens, and that they get the dopamine hit from scrolling just like we do.
Right.
And then they have absolutely no desire to interact with someone face to face or know how to.
Or if it's uncomfortable, if you're, I'm an introvert, right? Like and in fact, when the films first come out, I'm like, this is great. Oh my God, I'm like, run, that was me. But I mean, now I'm like kind of reversing that, because I'm like, well, I have a quiet one. And so I want her to be able to make conversation, or if it's uncomfortable, not to receive back, but to, to be able to have like a face-to-face conversation or, and I think that's like, I mean, we live in a neighborhood and there's lots of kids, but we don't really see them like almost ever. You know what I mean? It's like, less and less people are going outside. Less and, it's like, it's something else he talks in there, but like how, childhood has changed from clay-based to virtual and what does that do? How that makes anxiety rise. You don't have that face-to-face community, or if you don't have those skills, or if you're not willing to push yourself out there.
Yeah. Well, and I think it affects us spiritually because we were created to have that community and that closeness with real life people who do life with us day in and day out, not who are on the other side of it's great that we can contact someone on the other side of the world in a moment's notice. It's not weeks and weeks of ready for a letter to get shipped back to us. That's an amazing gift. But when we invest more of our time and energy into our digital world rather than the world we are in physically, we are forsaking how God designed us to live. I'm going to share some actually, I think, very startling statistics. This is interesting to me that as of 2025, this year, teenagers spend an average of 7 hours and 22 minutes per day on screens, get this, excluding schoolwork.
Oh, how?
This accounts for approximately 43% of their waking hours. And and then at school, we give them all Chromebooks. And so then it's like their whole life, their whole waking hours. And I heard it, I think you did too, because this is on the podcast. Was it 10 hours a day that were on some sort of screen? Adults. I mean, it could be work related. Most people watch at least 4 hours of TV a day.
Or like in the background. I think that.
Or in the background, but yeah. Yes, that we've got so much media we're constantly consuming, that for children aged 8 and under, the average daily time spent on mobile devices has tripled from 5 minutes a day in 2011 to 48 minutes in 2017, and I can only think how much worse it is now, 7 or 8 years later.
Yeah.
And screen time is directly linked to anxiety and depression. We kind of touched on that. But teens engaging in 4 or more hours of daily screen time, which, as we know, the average teen, we just said, is 7 hours and 22 minutes. They're significantly more likely to experience mental health issues. 27.1% reported anxiety symptoms. 25.9% reported depression symptoms. And in contrast, among teens with less than 4 hours of screen time, only 12.3% reported anxiety and 9.5% reported depression.
Mm-hmm. Let that sink in for a minute. Those are some big.
To me, doing research for this podcast episode and the things that I've been learning over the past year as my husband and I kind of navigate screens in our house and what do we really want to allow or not, it equates in my mind handing my child access to media when I know it is going to harm them. But like social media, because there are like literally no studies that showed any positive impact on children who have access to social media.
Yeah.
Every single study shows a very detrimental impact on their mental health, kids who have access to social media. So if I were to give my child access to social media, this might sound harsh, but in my mind, that equates to giving my child cocaine and then being like, use it responsibly. Like you would never do that. You would never do that.
Yeah.
So why then would I say, sure, you're 12, you can have Instagram? No, I know it's going to harm you. And yet as parents, we fall to the social pressures. Mm-hmm. All their friends have it. All their friends have phones. Mm-hmm. Because they do. But why are we as parents so weak when it comes to doing what's right and good for our babies, to connect with the world around them, connect with the Lord, and connect with us heart to heart, and guarding them from things that, yes, they are going to go out into the real world and be exposed to those things. But while they are mine to guard and they don't have the ability to guard themselves, I have to care more about what's right than being the uncool mom.
Yeah, I would that would be an cool mom all day long and have the consequence of some of this social media and stuff influencing my child. Yeah. I'm much rather be the uncool mom.
Well, and I feel like we didn't know that for a long time. We just kind of trusted that it wasn't as bad as it was. We didn't have the information that it was as harmful as it was. And because I think maybe some of us weren't super familiar with it.
Right.
We just didn't know.
Well, and they also have things in place now that help us as gatekeepers if you decide to give your child access to a phone or whatever in any kind of social, not necessarily social media, but access to a phone, we'll just say, because that opens a lot of doors by itself. So, they have a lot of tools out there, and I don't know what they are because I haven't started that research yet. I will be doing so very soon. But there are better tools out there now than there were. And I think that that's helpful for the parents that are like, oh no, my kid does have a phone. What do I do? Yeah. Well, you can start being a gatekeeper right now. You can reel it back right now. You can. You can say, hey, you know what? And admit to your child, this thing that we have is not healthy. It's not healthy for me. I had an addiction to it. It is not healthy for you. So let's do this together. Let's spend less time on our phones. Let's put these things into place so that you only have access to the things that are, I want you to have access to. And start now and explain to them, look, I'm trying to be the best parent that I can be. And one of the things that makes me a better parent is guarding your heart. And this is one of the ways that I can do that.
I think it's so good to experiment to your kids. And I think it, like you said, I love that you said together. Because and let them listen to the sets, like ask them what they think about me. You know what I mean? I feel like, I know some of it, I always struggle. I'm like, well, is this too much for her to listen to or, to hear? But I think she needs, at some point, because it's going to go from me telling her what I want to do and then her having to make the choice herself.
Yeah.
And so I want her to understand the issue. I want her to,
so she can make her own decisions later on, because eventually they do have phones. They're going to be going off and doing things, especially in high school on their own, and you want to have that link to them. And so you're going to give them a phone. If you give them a phone and there are no guidelines, if you give them a phone and they don't understand the statistics that we just discussed, then they can't make informed decisions on their own. And
I think, too, it's important with training our kids with how they use their time.
Yeah.
Because if we don't do that and then we hand them this thing that is incredibly addictive, and they don't already have a framework for how they want to spend their time, what they want to invest themselves and their time into, they're going to get sucked into this portal to hell. That's honest. Tell me I'm wrong. It is.
I told my kids that and they were like,
whoa, Ma.
That's why you don't have a phone. Because the poor ugly house.
I'm going to remember that one next time Laura asks for a phone.
It shuts down the conversation. I don't know what that's right. But don't talk to pictures. I have a few more statistics I want to share, and I'll start it with this. Yes, we do know that excessive screen time is associated with reduced opportunities for face-to-face interactions, which means they're not developing social skills like empathy, cooperation, conflict resolution, or just independence. And so I think we don't trust our kids to do stuff independently as early as they can because we're such helicopter moms.
Yeah.
We are. And I have been really trying to let my kids get some independence because it really builds their confidence and belief in like, I can do stuff. Why? So the other day, I have a 12-year-old. I needed to go into the grocery store to get a few items, like 5 things, but the baby was asleep in the car. And so I looked up and I was like, if I give you my debit card and PIN number in the grocery list, could you go grocery shopping for me? And he looked at me. And I thought he was going to be like, no, because he is a very not outgoing kid. And so I thought maybe, gosh, it's going to be such a stretch for him. He's going to be afraid. And he looked at me and goes, I've been waiting for this. Okay. So I said, you got 10 minutes, okay? If you have a problem, talk to somebody wearing a Food Lion shirt. And he said, okay. So I sent him in. He got his little cart. He came out 10 minutes later with the grocery list, and he double-checked with me, did I get everything that you wanted, everything you liked? Are you glad? Did I do good? You know, and for him, it was such a confidence booster. He felt like a young man.
Yeah.
And another thing that I did was our dryer was broken, and Dad was at work, and we needed to replace a few parts on it. And I was kind of like, well, why couldn't Judah do it? I mean, I gave him some power tools. He might be able to figure out. He can't make it worse. It's already not worse, right? So I said, hey, if I give you these parts, do you think you could do that? So seeing his, and he did. He replaced the parts. I think the dryer is still broken, but that wasn't his fault. But to see his confidence light up, a screen has never done that for him.
Right.
And a lot of times as parents, we're afraid to let our kids do things like that, to have the freedom to go in and grocery shop, of course, to go buy a donut alone when they're 6 with our own cash. We're afraid to do these things, but listen to this. More than 50% of adolescents have experienced cyberbullying. Approximately, more than 50%. Approximately, this is the more startling one to me. 1 in 5 minors have been sexually solicited online.
Ooh. 1 in 5?
1 in 5. Reports of online enticement increased by 300% from 2021 to 2023. So we very freely hand these devices to our children. However, listen to these stats. The risk of our kids being kidnapped, this is a legitimate statistic, is literally about 1 in a million.
Okay.
But 1 in 5, they're getting solicited online, sexually solicited. But the risk of them actually being kidnapped is 1 in a million. We put so many safeguards in place to not let our kids get kidnapped.
Yeah, open the door.
But we just hand them the portal to hell, right? Because it is. It's funny that we say that, but it is. 1 in 5 kids getting sexually solicited, minors, online, through games like Roblox. Things you should be able to just, matter should play because of the kids' game.
Yeah.
And you can't. We are not afraid of this, but we're so afraid of letting them go into the food line and get the grocery list alone. And we've got it backwards. So there's got to be a better way forward.
Yeah.
So we want to wrap up today. We've talked about all the statistics. We've talked about all the dangers. You already know because you've heard it. And maybe you're feeling like, okay, well, how do I navigate then all of this? So what are some things, and we kind of briefly touched on these, but help our kids reclaim real life instead of this digital world that we get sucked into?
I think you set strict limits and you've got to stick to it. I know that sounds easier said than done, but I'm thankful now that, there's so many people talking about this stuff. Yeah, they're talking about like being outside and doing real things.
The 1,000 hours.
1,000 hours. Yeah, that whole thing. It has done so much good in that sense. But at the end of the day, you got to decide, like, this is going to be my line and I'm going to stick to it. And even if they whine, even if they're driving me crazy and I just want to think for a second. So,
And whatever that is, it looks different for every person, right? Like, it looks a little different for every person. Like, in our boss, like, this is my line lately. It was like, okay, well, no screens or no any type of screens until after 4:30, or maybe let them for the weekends. You know, because really, like, especially in homeschooling, there's no good learning that happens after screens. It usually is down till from there, right? Yeah. And so it's like, well, and then, you know, part of me, it's like, well, you should be avoiding, and I'm not going to be able to get anything done and all these things. But at the same time, I'm like, it's not doing me any favors anyway. You know, yeah, the screens aren't really doing me any favors, and it's not doing her any favors. So
The whining does stop. The whining about screens does stop. It does. When you, like you said, you put your guidelines in. This is what how our family's going to handle our screen time. Yeah, we did a screen detox this last year, and I'm ready to do another one. And we planned on a screen-free summer last year, and that went well for the first month. But we did a 30-day screen detox last year. My husband and I also participated. And it sucked initially. Yeah. It was the worst. And my kids were real like, the worst, you know. But eventually, like after a week or so, suddenly we're like playing more games together. We're having more conversations. We're outside more, you know. Like they're discovering things that they love to do, and that maybe they didn't realize that they love to do. Judah loves to make comics, and they're all punny, you know, they're all like dad joke oriented, and so like discovering these things that they wouldn't if they were on a device or watching a TV or whatever. And so I think setting your boundaries. And just like you had said, boredom is a good thing.
Yes, yeah, for sure. Yes.
Let them be bored. It's still good for them. They'll find ways to get unbored.
I think that part of it is that it's easier for us to hand them a screen.
Yeah.
It is going to take effort on your part, Mama. If you decide this is what you want to do, you need to have an action plan. You need to have something that's hidden away in the closet to where they're enticing enough that, you know, instead of a screen, they would do this. Like for me, my kids are always asking to paint, and I'm like, no, because I don't like clean. But I actually let them do it the other day with the promise that they were going to clean up. And I gave them, you know, okay, you have to put this down, and then you do this, and then make sure when you're done, this and this and this happen. And I let them do it. Because they wanted to be on screens, and I didn't want them to be on screens. And you know what? They painted and they cleaned up after themselves. So sometimes giving them those guidelines of you know, I know this is going to make a mess. I know this is, you know, going to do whatever, but here's your guidelines for this. It gets a little messy. I might have to get involved a little bit more. It might mean that I have to turn the oven down and stop making dinner for a minute to come over and make sure that you're doing what you're supposed to do. You know, that kind of thing. I think that we just have to remember that it takes effort to be a parent. And if we are afraid of putting effort into our parenting, then that's another heart check that we need. Yeah. So,
Yeah. It definitely, I have to ask myself, what's more important? Parenting these kids or my to-do list?
yeah.
Because the to-do list feels like it's so important. And these kids go do something while I'm, so sometimes the something is just turn on a show or whatever.
Right.
Because I got to get the to-do list done. But that to-do list is nothing compared to parenting those babies. And throw them outside. Golly. Yeah. We need to let our kids go out. So water gun and a bucket. Yes. I gave my kid a machete. Oh, here comes the confession. I gave them a machete, the hoys, and a bow saw. And I said, go into the woods. Go forth. They built a bike path. They built a wigwam. I told them you cut down any tree that's skinnier than my arms. So if you want a bigger one, you got to ask your dad. But you don't necessarily have to be as trusting, even your children as I am. But I will say, you should trust them more. They are fiercely independent. They can be, and it builds their confidence way more than a screen ever can for them. And those are the kind of young men and women we want to put out into the world, capable and confident and bold. So we want to invite you to consider your tech habits in your home. And this is something, sometimes as moms, we can like jump on that bandwagon and yes, we're going to screen free, whatever. And then we don't consult dad. We need to make sure dad's on board too. You need to do this mom and dad together, unified front for your kids. Because it doesn't work really well if it's just you and dad's got a different set of rules or whatever. So get on the same page. Have your husband listen to this episode with you if he's unaware of some of the statistics or anything like that. Get on the same page and you guys together come up with a plan. And if you need help with that, we've actually put together a freebie that will help you and your spouse walk through the kind of guidelines you want for your home in terms of screen time and ideas for you as a family to do instead of screens. What are some things you can do to help instill confidence and not individualism, independence. Thank you. Confidence and independence in your kids. So yeah, I hope this episode starts something in you. I hope you'll share it with another mama who needs to hear this as well or is kind of navigating this, and that we can keep raising a generation that's rooted in God's word and not lost in the scroll. Okay, and that we can be mamas who are rooted in God's word and not lost in the scroll. So we'll see you in a couple weeks for another episode of She Says.